Ooh, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is Mike, the Patriot, going to you live from Central Missouri. To talk about some things on my heart. If you are just jumping on, let me know where you're watching from. Say hi if you're watching on a rerun, whatever. I know a lot of people catch this later in the day because, like, you have jobs and you're busy, and I understand because I do too. So, anyways, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on. There was an article out that I shared on my Facebook page, and you can go back and read it. It should be just up underneath this here live, about how Joe Biden endorses what is called the California Ab5, which was a bill California passed last year. It became effective the first of this year, and what it is a deal. It's a bill that deals with 1099s, contract labor. So basically, anywhere else in the United States of America, if you are a contract laborer, if you say work for Uber or Grubhub or Lyft, or if you, and I was looking into this, I was amazed at how many different professions there are this way. Or maybe you are, maybe you're working as an architect for several different firms, or you're working as, around here, a lot of auto mechanics work this way. Basically, you get paid a 1099. Instead of being on somebody's payroll, they contract you out as individual labor. Also, something that's very important to pay attention to, many people who are watching me right now who are jumping on and saying hi to me. So if you're watching, say hi. I can't see you with my software. I can't see that you're jumping on like with Facebook. With the software program that I'm going through gives me these cool little graphics and stuff. I can't see you. So unless you say hi, I don't know you're there. Anyways, but what I want to say is a lot of people, myself included, have a side gig through one of these companies, these direct selling companies or multi-level companies or whatever they are. Maybe you're into the CBD oils, maybe you're into the Plexus or the Thrive or the Avon or the Mary Kay. I'm not going to try to name them all because there's a zillion of them out there. There's coffee companies. Speaking of coffee, right here, the best stuff on earth. Love me a good cup of coffee. Whether it's coffee companies or product companies or whatever it is, a lot of people are into, they go to work every day and they leverage their time with a network marketing type business of some sort or another, and gives them a little extra income on the side, and they get paid on a 1099. Okay, so what does California AB5 do? Well, basically it said that 1099s no longer exist. You can no longer be a contract employee, or you have to be a regular employee with full-time set hours, minimum wage, and benefits. So what that would mean is, if, for example, if you were an Uber driver, you would have to work officially for Uber. Uber would have to pay you for the hours you work. They would have to set your hours and tell you when to work, thus completely destroying the business model of Uber. Uber and Lyft actually said in early August that they would cease operation in California unless they can get a judge to stay this order long enough for them to fight this out in court or come up with a means of making their business work. A judge did stay this order in the case of Uber and Lyft, but this affects them. It affects Grubhub. And, I started in the article, if you read the article, it's got testimony from many different people. It's just on and on and on, testimonies whose lives have been turned upside down and ruined. One particular lady was a 61-year-old cancer survivor who's still undergoing chemotherapy. She cannot work a traditional job because she has to go to the doctor or do whatever it is to take care of herself. So she works interpreting over the phone. Now, I don't know who she does that for or how that works, but that's what she said. Her job now doesn't exist because she can no longer freelance interpret. So if someone needed an interpreter, they would call her, they would pay her whatever her set wage was, whatever her contract agreement was, to interpret for them over the phone. So you have a business that maybe needs an interpreter once or twice a month. They don't need a full-time interpreter. They can't afford to hire a full-time interpreter. Now they can't have an interpreter because they can't hire her on a per-call basis through a 1099. And this lady was making a pretty good living around her treatment for cancer, but yet she can't do it. So that's the kind of thing that this bill is affecting. But I started reading some of the other people affected in the state of California. That's fitness trainers. Of course, it's Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, and etc. Comedians. Did you know comedians got paid on a 1099? Well, they can no longer do that. Music producing engineers, the freelancers, musicians, behavioral health therapists. They're freelance out there, anywhere for like these smaller communities. Maybe they freelance for 3 or 4 different smaller communities. Midwives, music teachers that freelance, that, teach on the side. We have those here in Sedalia. Nurse practitioners, also for the smaller rural communities, you might have one nurse practitioner for several offices or hospitals that works on a freelance basis as need basis. Virtual assistants, they can't be used anymore. A transcriptologist, I didn't even know what that was. I had to look it up, but these are people who take the medical transcripts and encode them or do whatever they do to them. They process them basically at home, and they're paid on 1099s. They can no longer someone says my audio's not matching up. That's a good question. There must be a lag somewhere, and I don't know what to do about that. That must be an internet problem. I'll continue. Maybe it'll catch up on the rerun. Let's see. Computer techs, freelance computer techs, freelance translators, independent rehabilitation coaches, burlesque dancers. Who would have thought? Chiropractors. And that's just part of the list of going on and on and on. But I want to touch base again. I want to come back to something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is, and I would say probably 1 out of 2 people who are watching this video have some sort of relationship with some sort of network marketing company. Either they buy and use the product, or they are a member of the company themselves, and they are a distributor of the company. And I know several of you personally, and I know what you do. Joe Biden has endorsed this and said that if he is elected president, he will bring this same bill up for the whole United States of America for the workers. So we got to help the small people, he says. We got to make sure that they're taken care of, that they get the benefits and the rewards they deserve. But what this means is if you're in one of these companies like Avon or Mary Kay or Plexus or Thrive or that's just off the top of my head, just Amway, Team National, Modern, there's a zillion of them. There's endless numbers of these. I mean, they're popping up every day. There's some that are 50 years old. If you're in one of these companies, you will no longer allowed to be called an independent distributor or independent, whatever your company calls you. Basically, you're a contractor being paid by a 1099 for the services rendered by distributing the product within the confines of the guidelines of that particular company, whether it's through direct sales or it's through multi-level or it's through network or however you want to do it, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter for this particular argument. What it is they will no longer be allowed to operate. They would have to hire you. They would have to pay you at least minimum wage, and they would have to do all the things that an employer-employee relationship has, including the taxes. This would cause many of these companies to either cease operations or completely change how they do. This is what Joe Biden has said he wants for us. Now, I know that many of you make a decent living through these kinds of companies, that many of you make the money that you earn for these kinds of, pay for your vacations or pay for your kids to go to private school or pay for the extra car or pay for extra bills. Maybe you're trying to get out of debt. I don't know, but you have a full-time job. Like Jim Rohn said, you work full-time on your life, and you work, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember how it says, full-time on your life and part-time on your fortune or your future. And that's what you've been doing. You've been burning the midnight oil. You've been going to your meetings. You've been doing your Zooms or whatever it is, your phone calls, whatever it is you do to sell your product. But the government's going to come along and say, no, you can't do that anymore. Or maybe you've built this thing up so big and you've helped thousands of people make a decent income, help a bunch of moms take care of their children, or maybe you make the whole bunch of people feel a little healthier because of the pills, powders, or potions you sell. But you will no longer be allowed to do that under the auspices of this bill. Now, it's still being fought out in the courts in California, but it's affecting people's lives right now. They are no longer allowed to create an income for themselves the way that they were doing it. They have to go get a job for a corporation. Think about that. This is to help the little people or to help the big corporations, to help the little guy get ahead, or to punish the little guy and force everybody into fitting into and conforming into whatever box the bureaucrats in DC or the bureaucrats in Sacramento and California determine the box should look like. What if I don't want to work for a company? What if I want to have several little side gigs that pay me a little here and a little there, and I can work when I want to, like an Uber driver? Uber guy, he might want to work his tail off today and take the rest of the week off to go spend with his kids. He might want to do work a little this morning and then go to his kids' football practice in the afternoon and then work a little in the evening. It's all about the ability for a person to make their own choices. But we're not going to allow people to make their own choices because we're government and we say so. That's basically what Joe Biden's saying. Joe Biden and the Democrat parties are the people who believe this. They hate capitalism. They hate liberty and freedom. And as Mike the Patriot, I'm for pro-capitalism. I'm for pro-liberty and freedom. I'm for you deciding whether or not you want to have a side gig. I'm for you deciding whether or not you want to drive for Uber. I'm for you deciding whether or not you want to sell Avon. I'm for you deciding whether or not you do whatever it is you do for the best of your family in your way. And if you can make a living at it, if you can get rich at it, God bless you. And if you can help a handful of other people go do the same thing along the way, that's even better. We're coming up on an election, friends, election that could change everything. There's a couple Supreme Court justices up for grab. They're in their 80s. By the time Trump leaves, one of them will be in their 90s. I know some of you are never Trumpers, no matter what. But if you have a side gig and you're a never Trumper, you should really think about that. Because these are the kind of policies. Just take a look at California. These are the dream of the progressive left. This is what they want for you. And imagine a life without 1099s. Because that's where we're headed. With that, I hope you all have a great day. Take this information. Go down on my Facebook page and read that article. I think you would get some good information out of it. You guys have a great day, and I will catch you later. Thank you for watching.